Africa is urbanizing at an unprecedented rate, and Lagos, with a population of approximately 22 million, is at the heart of it all. However, this growth has fueled a severe housing crisis. Lagos ranks first in the list of African cities with the most expensive rent at the start of 2025. A two-bedroom apartment in Yaba, a suburb located on Lagos mainland, went from 1 million naira in 2020 to 3 million naira in 2025. And a two-bedroom apartment in Lekki Phase 1, a highbrow area located in Lagos Island, went from 2 million naira in 2020 to 9 million naira annually in 2025, all of which is to be paid upfront. So what is driving this sharp rise in rental prices across Lagos?
The supply of the houses we have is not much, but we have a lot of people that are demanding for it.
Then tenants pay premium for basic amenities in Lagos.
The things that you get with rent, they're automatically like consistent light, water, all of those stuff. You really do have to pay like a premium in Lagos to get that.
Unfortunately, income has not risen as fast as rent, and this has put a lot of tenants in an uncomfortable position.
When they were going to increase the rent, the increase was drastic. I was afraid. From 500 to 850.
And there appears to be no signs of slowing down.
The government has no right to regulate the rent because you can only control what you have.
With rent being the primary savings priority for many Lagos residents and approximately 70% of the population relying on rental housing, it is crucial to ask, why is rent so expensive in Lagos? To understand today's housing market, we need to look at the past. Post-independence, Lagos experienced rapid population growth. However, the law of supply and demand still applies. When demand outpaces supply, prices rise. Lagos populations have surged, but housing construction hasn't kept up. There are reports that put the housing deficit in Lagos at 3 million, while there are some that go as high as 17 million. This shows that millions of residents in the state could be homeless.
There are a lot of people that are looking for houses, but the housing that is being available is not much. Maybe 4 people that needed houses now, they only have one house. You can just fix the price. A house that is supposed to be 100 naira can just tell you 250.
House hunting in Surulere, Lagos is so bad that they don't do showings per person. They can bring 10 of you into the house. And it's you that is most desperate.
I just had to speak to someone and he was like, oh, there's this apartment here and I think there's a space. I went there myself. I met the lawyer there. And I had to pay there on that spot. Because yes, I had to pay there on that spot because I know if I leave that gate that day, that house is gone.
Some landlords also justify higher rents based on premium interior finishes, such as modern kitchens, high-quality flooring, and stylish fittings, making aesthetics a key factor in rental pricing.
In Ogba here, 5 years back, many flats used to be between 250 to 300, like 5 years back. But just within 2 years ago now, many flats in Ogba is about 1 million, 1.5 million. Even you still see some places for 2 million naira in Ogba, many flats. The reason for that was just because they will tell you they're having POP. There's prepaid meter, there's water heater, and all those things. So depending on the finishing of the house also add to the price of the property.
Inflation has been another major driver of rising rent prices.
In 2014, when I was looking for an apartment, I got a good apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment for 500,000. 2019, when I was to look for another apartment, a good apartment, it was already going for 1.2 million. 2022, the apartment was going for maybe like 2.2 million, but right now it's going for 5.5. So the most drastic increase has been between beginning of 2023 and now. And that's majorly because most things have gone up.
In respect of today's reality, the volatility of exchange rate, inflation is very high. I think by now inflation is almost 36%. and the interest rate is 27.5. So you look at the macroeconomic variables. I mean, 2010 exchange rate was 150 naira to a dollar, and if a rent is paying for say 1.25, that was $8,333. But the same, you cannot charge the same now at all. Even the landlord operates in the same market, whether in capital market, money market, commodity market, whether Jankara market, you will buy at the same. So if they increase their distance and you cannot increase your rent, you are subsidizing yourself.
Stagnant wages amid rising inflation have forced many Nigerians to downsize their living spaces, live in shared apartments, or relocate to more affordable but distant areas from their workplaces. As a result, spending more on transportation.
In a month, roughly 60K, 70K on transportation.
Then we have landlords who arbitrarily increase rental prices without clear reasons, such as building expansion or renovation costs.
I was paying 800K annually, or let's say 860 when you add, the whole Loma, security levy and all that. So it was about 860 per year. But in January, on the 1st of January, actually, without any prior notice, the lawyer informed us that we'll be paying about double of the rent, which is like 1.5 M. So, I mean, there's actually no clear justification for that, because I mean, there was no renovation, there was nothing done about the old apartment. Sure, there was a neighbor of mine that her rent was like due the same January, on the 5th of January, and you're getting a message on the 1st of the same January that you are paying double of what you were paying before.
The rising cost of construction is another key factor driving up rent prices.
When we started this place, cement was 1,000 plus per 50 kg bag. The same cement is 10,200 now. The iron rod, it was 120,000 a tonnage, imported, not local. Now it's 1,200,000. So, and if you look at the grade, you cannot compare the grade with they have reduced the grade. Even the sand, 30 tons sand, 60,000 there. Now it's over 400,000, even getting to 500,000.
Some also demand multiple year rent payments upfront.
Agents, they convince their landlords that we can get you 2 years, all in the name of being able to collect agency fee on that 2 years. It's not fair, because I'm not receiving my own monies 2 years at once. They are paying me per month. So that means for me to gather a 2-year rent, looking at the fact that a lot of people pay 40%, 50% of their annual income for rent, that will mean that for me to rent a house next year, I need to not spend any of my salary for this year in order to pay 2 years in advance. That's not fair.
There is a law prohibiting the collection of more than 1 year rent from tenants.
Fine, there is a law, but I think the law is not being monitored. We need a regulatory body that will regulate that. I can remember very well during the regime of Fashola. Fashola mandated it that everybody must not pay above 1 year rent. And that was one of the reasons why rent went up. Because landlords were getting 2 years rent that period. But because of the law, they said you have to be getting one. Okay, no problem, we'll be getting 1 year. Houses that are supposed to be 200,000 naira. No, I will get let it out of 300.
Beyond the actual annual rent, tenants also face additional costs such as agency, legal, and caution fees.
And it's even so bad that the less you have to pay for a house, the more you pay in agency fees. For example, when we're in Unilag, you wanted to get maybe what we call a BQ, off-campus hostel. You hear rent is 140, commission and agreement 100,000. That's like 60-something%.
There are also legal guidelines specifying how much agents should receive in a rental transaction.
Yeah, normally agency and agreement are supposed to be 10% each on of the value of the property, of the rental value, 10%. But we used to call some people mandate mandate on property, the people that are in charge of that property, they will tell you the 10% is for me alone. You can talk to your client. That is the reason why they get 20% agency fee. Why some people will tell you, okay, 20% agreement also, or some people will tell you 20 or 10% agreement. But logically or constitutionally, it used to be any rent that is above 1 million, it should be 10% of the rent. But any rent that is less than 1 million will be 20%.
In some cases, service charges for utilities such as water and power supply are added on top of these expenses.
Usually they tell you the amount for like your rent upfront, but sometimes like they don't disclose how much your service charge actually is. The service charge is huge, very, very huge. Like some places, your service charge can be basically double your rent when you actually accumulate it in the span of a whole year.
Despite these costs, tenants are often still responsible for covering the renovation and maintenance expenses that might be needed within the rental property.
I had to change all the ceilings in the house in general, painting, I had to change like the bathrooms, the things that you get with rent, they're automatically like consistent lights, water, all of those stuff. You really do have to pay like a premium in Lagos to get that. Like it's not like something that just comes, okay, you find a place with affordable rent and you're going to have consistent lights and water. No, like even like living here, like I still have to like buy water from a tanker. I have 2 tanks and that takes like half of a tanker, and that's like around 25k like every like 2 weeks. Light situation, I used to have a generator and that was very expensive because like light is not consistent throughout the day. I had to switch to solar. There's a lot of like running expenses that comes with renting, especially in Lekki, because Lekki has like certain types of like problems like water, inconsistent electricity, all of that stuff.
In February 2024, Moruf Akindero Fatai, the Commissioner for Housing, announced that the Lagos State government plans to sanction unethical practices in the housing sector. While the promises have remained unfulfilled and unethical practices persist in 2025, it is crucial to recognize that housing is a basic human right, and addressing the rent crisis in Africa's rapidly growing city will require collaboration, innovation, and sustained commitment from both the government and stakeholders.
There should be a regulation, but there must be a backup. There must be a backup, like, okay, checking it. Are people following what we order them to do? So if you are not doing it, then this is a penalty for you.
The government has no right to regulate the rent because you can only control what you have. Why not you control the price for cement? Why not you subsidize cement? Why not you subsidize iron? How these building materials that the cement companies, we thank God that private this thing has come in and stabilized the whole thing. But they are coming in, it's not very valuable to people. It makes the cost. So why not government find a way controlling them? Don't control us.
For you to drive down the demand on properties in Lagos is a thing of giving the next door neighbor to Lagos super fast internet to be able to remove maybe like 10-20% of the jobs that you come to the office to do to work from home. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, develop a super fast transport system that can get you in and out of Lagos. For example, a train that leaves at 6 a.m. in Ibadan and gets to Lagos by 6:37. If that can be done, definitely a lot of people move out of Lagos.
The increasing rental prices in Lagos, coupled with stagnant incomes, are creating significant economic and social challenges for residents. These soaring rents underscore the widening gap between the cost of living and residents' earning capacity. As this city continues to grow, it is crucial for leaders to implement policies that ensure housing remains affordable and accessible, fostering inclusivity and sustainability for their diverse populations.